Hi guys, this is the first of several orientation videos that are part of this these first few days of class, where I'm hoping all of you just get used to the format and what you're going to have to do before we dive into things on Monday. I am recording this on the Thursday, the day before class starts. Sorry. So what I'm going to do in this video is just look at the syllabus together and get you a good understanding, hopefully, of how our course is set up and what you're going to need to do to earn your grades. So over here on the left-hand toolbar is where you're going to access everything you need for the course. And we're looking today at my view, so that there's things that are hidden today still because the course hasn't started that wouldn't show up on your view. But the syllabus is on your view and mine together. So over here, click on the syllabus, and then you have two options here. The syllabus is the actual syllabus for our course, and so all the information that's unique to our class. The college policies document is, I've separated out all of the things that are true for every course, kind of the general college information. So how you withdraw from a course, where you find tutoring, things like that. So all of that is in there and will be available to you all semester. But let's open up the syllabus. I'm just going to click here to open it up as a document. And I hope that all of you will download a copy of this to your device, or maybe even print out a hard copy to have for easy reference. But we're just going to walk our way through this. And it should look familiar because the format is the same as every other syllabus at the college. Our course is an asynchronous online course, as it says here. And that asynchronous means that we don't have any scheduled meetings. And so while there are due dates every week that you need to meet, you can work on those at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever time you want. But there isn't a specific time that you need to show up on any given day. And so that's what that means. I am not on campus, as most of your faculty are not on campus now. So my office hours are virtual. You will not find me in my office on campus. And they are listed here, right? These are the hours that I promised to be available to log in and meet with you on WebEx, which is the link that you see there. I just ask that you let me know ahead of time that you want to meet. I'm not going to sit staring at a computer screen for 3 hours a week if no one's coming. But if you tell me you're coming through an email, then I will be there. And I'm also available at other times. These are the times that I've put out there that I'll keep open on my calendar. But most weeks I have lots of other times that are also free. And you should feel free to ask for a different time if for some reason none of those times work for you. My phone number is here. My phone number goes to my email. My voicemail goes to my email. So if you feel like you need to explain something in a voicemail, go ahead and do that. Though the quickest way to get my attention and to get a response from me is an email, and my email address is there as well. We have our course description, which you can read through. This is a basic science of psychology course. And so we cover those chapters, those areas of content that are about how typical people function. So we don't think so much about disorders, and we don't think about more applied areas of psychology. It's really the basic science of psychology. And as you know from the earlier email from me, we are using what is called an open educational resource textbook, meaning it's free to you. It was developed by a professor, just the way all textbooks are developed by professors. But instead of choosing to be paid, this is offered up. So you do have the PDF of that. When in the next video, when we're looking at course structure, I'll point that out to you again, that I have made that available to you. You also have links here to show you where you can buy it. I know at least one of you was able to also find it on Amazon. So if you want a hard copy, and there's good reason why some of you might want a hard copy, I think there's about $35 or so that you could buy a hard copy as well. That is the textbook. You will need to read the textbook, so make sure that you have you plan for how you want to access it. Learning outcomes, these will be repeated again in each chapter folder. Not all of them, the ones that are relevant to the specific chapter, and so you'll see those again, but these are the things I'm hoping you will learn how to do or learn about, and learn how to explain or whatever it is that you need to do with a piece of information, these are the things that I hope you will have by the time you leave me. In terms of instructional methodology, as I said before, we're asynchronous. Everything you need is going to be on Blackboard. That there is no place else you need to go to find information. If there's outside information I want you to look at, I will link it within Blackboard. So everything you need is here, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the Blackboard organization and how to understand the kind of physical layout of our course. But everything you need, you will have due dates. Our course is going to be on a Monday, Thursday, Sunday schedule. New content will always become available on a Monday, and that also includes exams that will become available on Monday. So Monday is our start date for everything. And then the chat for each chapter, most chapters is 2 that are only 1 week long, but most of the chapters are 2 weeks long. But you always have work due on the Thursday after the chapter opens, regardless of length, and then the Sunday, and then the following Sunday, and then again the following Thursday, and again the following Sunday for those 2 week long chapters. And exams will be on a similar schedule. They'll open on a Monday, and you'll have access to them. You can choose when to go in and take it, but you can choose any time between that Monday when it opens and then the following Sunday when it closes. And when due dates are listed, due dates are always open for the whole day. So if something is due on January 22nd, then you have until 11:59 p.m. on January 22nd to do it. Okay, there will be video lectures like this in each chapter folder. And so those are me explaining content. There'll be PowerPoint slides in the background that you'll be able to see, but I'm not reading from the slides. And so essentially I'm talking about things on those videos the way I would if we were sitting in class together and giving explanations for the material and examples and other things that would have brought our class alive in a classroom. Hopefully brings it a little alive to you here in this format as well. You will also have discussions that you'll have to engage in every week. You'll have quizzes for each chapter. You will have 2 different discussions for each chapter that you'll have to engage in, and we'll talk about those a little bit more in just a moment. So in terms of grades, I work on a 1,000-point system. And so this is the college's grid that I've adapted for 1,000 points rather than 100 points. So you can see where the cutoff is for different grades. The 1,000-point system is important to me philosophically and practically. So philosophically, well, practically, and let's start with that. Practically, I think the 1,000-point system is very transparent. And so you are working towards 1,000 points, and that would be a perfect grade. The way I like to encourage students to think about it is to imagine that you start with 1,000 points, and that when you lose points on any given assignment, you're taking those away from 1,000. And I think that's really transparent, because if you know, right, if we go back up here for a second, if you know you want at least a B for the class, and so you want at least 830 points, then you know you don't want to lose more than 170 points. And so as you go along, if you lose, you know, if at some point in the semester you are down to 900, you've lost 100 points, you know that you need to make sure you don't lose more than 70 more, right? So really transparent in that way. There's not any fancy math. You know, if you get an A on a paper and you need to figure out how that affects your grade, what the weight is, there's none of that. There's no weighting. Everything is just worth a certain number of points. The other thing, philosophically, what I like about the 1,000-point system is that you get to keep every point you earn. So, right, in a traditional grading system, let's say you got an F on a test. You got a 55 out of 100, and that's an F. Unfortunately, what that means is that you get no credit for that test, right? An F is a 0. And so you get no credit for it, even though you knew 55% of the material. It's as if you didn't bother showing up that day. And that feels grossly unfair to me. So the 1,000-point system, in that same situation where you had a 100-point test and you got a 55 on it, points, but you keep 55 points, right? Instead of getting no credit, you get the 55 points that you earned because you knew 55% of the information. So we'll work on that 1,000-point system. And then within those 1,000 points, right, we can look at how your grade is made up. You have 4 exams, and those will be a combination of 30 multiple choice questions and 10 kind of open-ended questions. Think of them as very short essays or very long kind of open answer questions. You'll write like 4 or 5 sentences each for those. And those, so that each exam will be set up in exactly that way. And they're 100 points each. We do not have a cumulative midterm or a cumulative final. And so every 2 chapters, we cover 8 chapters. Every 2 chapters, you have an exam on that content. And then once you tell me in February that you know the information for the first 2 chapters, we move on. And then we cover 2 more chapters, and you take another exam on those 2 chapters, and so on. So 400 of your 1,000 points, right, of those 4 exams. In addition to that, you have 2 short written papers. My goals for your writing and critical thinking for the semester are about understanding scientific literature, being able to read it, understand it, and respond to it. And so the first of those papers is worth 130 points, and the second one is 150 points. The last video of the 3 you'll have today, we'll talk more about those papers. So we'll leave that be for now. That second paper, you will also have an optional revision. So you do get 2 shots at those 150 points. But again, we'll talk about that later. Each chapter and each chapter folder, there's an online quiz for the chapter, and that's due every Thursday. And so we're on, right, that Monday, Thursday, Sunday schedule. Opens on Monday. Immediately that next Thursday, you have a quiz, and it's a reading quiz. It's to show that you've read the textbook, and maybe that you've even watched the lectures at that point. But it's to show that, show me that you're on top of things, and also to show you that you're on top of things. The thing about those quizzes is that you can take them an unlimited number of times, and Blackboard will simply record your highest grade. So they are what professors call formative rather than evaluative. So it's about teaching you the information. So if you get 8 out of 10 right, you can get to go back and figure out what the answer was to the other 2. And that way you build your knowledge. So it's not a right, so it is meant to do that. And so those are 10 points each, 80 possible points over the semester. And then before, I said you have 2 discussions for each chapter. Sometimes you're going to see these referred to as modules, and I see that I've done this here a bunch. But each chapter has 2 required discussions. And one of those is a discussion prompt, where I give you a prompt, and you need to respond to that in some way. In the first chapter, I ask you to pick one out of a list of research questions and to propose an experiment, which is part of what we need to learn in chapter 1. And so you need to do that. And then the other one, the second discussion, is a muddiest points discussion. And muddiest points is you have to ask a question about the content. So it's not optional. You need to do this. It's a required part of your grade. So you can ask about something you don't quite understand, something that wasn't clear to you, something you want more examples of, or something you're really interested in and you just want to delve into more deeply. And for each of those modules, you not only need to post your original post, but you need to reply to classmates. And so that we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But it's 240 points total. That's an important piece of your grade. And you need to make sure that you're doing that. There'll also be some extra credit opportunities in individual chapters, and then a final one at the end of the semester. Those points just get added to your total. So whenever you have extra credit, there'll be opportunities also to rewrite some exam answers for extra credit. Those never get added, for example, to that exam. They just get added to the total, right? Because we're only working towards 1,000. It doesn't matter where the points come from. So hopefully that gives you an overview. I think that'll be a little more clear also in the next video when we look at the structure of the Blackboard course itself and the layout. And we look at some individual chapter folders. And then there's a message here from me about the course that you can take a look at. But let me say this. I know that we're in the middle of a pretty challenging point of history. We need to move through our material in a timely way. We need to finish in May when the college says we need to finish. I have an easier time responding if things are going badly in your life in some way, or you run into challenges in some way during the course of the semester. It is far easier for me to proactively plan with you about how to manage that than it is for me in retrospect to try to address that you've been missing for 3 weeks and now we have a problem. I will say this, I will be as flexible as I can. There's really not a lot of flexibility I can have for the discussions. The discussions are meant to be a substitute for our class time together. And so it's as if you missed class. I couldn't, kind of somehow make a class experience happen for you. Once your classmates are no longer engaged in a chapter's discussions, then the opportunity to engage in discussion is past because there's nobody else there doing it anymore. So that is going to be something to keep in mind, that there's lots of things that I could be flexible about if you're running into problems, but the discussions are not among those. Okay, so I'm going to end there, and we'll see each other in the next video where we look at the actual physical structure of the course.